Shall we go into the news of the week right now?
I think so. Brought to you by Eagle Mortgage.
Eagle Mortgage has been at it for more than 30 years. Holly Schneiderwind and her team do an outstanding job. Doesn't matter whether you're doing conventional, FHA, VA. They have even some other mortgages that they do as well. But the main thing is they are not beholden to one bank. They shop the banks. They're a broker who works for you and find the best. Their goal is to find the best financing option for you as you get ready to go out there and make a pretty big purchase if you're thinking about buying a house. And by the way, we keep hearing all of this stuff about interest rates, and yeah, they have gone up a lot from what they used to be, but people are still buying and selling houses. In fact, it's still a very active housing market, even during the holidays like we are right now. People are buying and selling houses. Talk to Holly and her team. They'll get you started when you are ready to go out into the fun and exciting world of buying a house. All right, well, on with the news. Trenton was kind of exciting. We had a groundbreaking this week for the Baby Bob Bridge. This is the bridge to a bridge, you might say. North downtown, is full of all sorts of activity with Charles Schwab Field, CHI Health Center Omaha, and all of the stuff in the Builders District. But if you wanted to get to the riverfront, it wasn't so easy. Still isn't. But construction has started, even though the groundbreaking was this week. We had construction start a while before that. And this is a $6 million project, very nice looking bridge that will take you over the railroad tracks and bring you right up to the start of the Bob Carey Bridge, which takes you over the Missouri River. We have a rendering of it on the Grow Omaha Facebook page if you want to see what this Baby Bob Bridge will look like. But the key thing, Trenton, with all of the stuff going on downtown, it's more connectivity and opens up more options.
I want my Baby Bob, Baby Bob, Baby Bob.
That's all you have to say about it?
No, I think it's funny, though, that you and I give a lot of tours of Omaha. We talk about Omaha. That's our job, and that's the purpose of the show. Have you ever noticed that we always precede every project with what it costs? Well, it's only $6 million.
It's kind of a journalistic. That's kind of a journalistic tenet when we're reporting the news. So we do that because that what things cost is pretty relevant.
And I think over the 20 years,
what do you think about the bridge?
Over the 20 years, these prices have gone up. But no, I think it's neat. It's overdue, and it'll definitely be a good addition to what we have down there.
So I was looking at some of the quotes and comments that were made during the groundbreaking ceremony. And one of the speakers talked about the disproportionately large percentage of people who cross the Bob Carey pedestrian bridge during the 10 days of College World Series. Makes a lot of sense, and it'll be just interesting to see what this does to enhance that experience for people who come out of town. I noticed when I was watching CWS games, I would catch an inning or two here or there during the series last year, how many cutaway shots the network would use of the bridge. Like most of the cutaway shots, you might do like the stadium or maybe do downtown Omaha, but a lot of the cutaway shots were of the bridge.
I wonder if it's more during the day or more during the night with the LED lighting changing and stuff.
It seemed like toward the end of the game when the lights were on, you would see a little bit more. But of course, the days are so long that time of year that you don't get a lot of nighttime shots during College World Series time. Well, Nebraska is number 10 on the list of best states to work in 2023, according to a study released earlier this week from Peak Sales Recruiting. The study analyzed wages, union representation, work hours, taxes, remote work, things like that. The 10 best cities are, or rather states in order: Oregon, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Montana, Delaware, Washington, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. And anytime there's like a good ranking, it seems like Nebraska and the Dakotas are always in there. Like Nebraska and the Dakotas do well on all of this sort of stuff.
I can see that, and I always think it's interesting that we report all these different rankings, and you always wonder like what is the methodology that too of their what's the process for them selecting us, and who are they talking to, and what kind of data are they running?
Yeah, this one pulled a bunch of data from Census Bureau, Bureau of Labor Statistics, a lot of federal reporting and that sort of thing. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I would say, generally speaking, the workforce here seems happy. We just don't have enough of it. We do get some more of them. But those who are here do seem to be pretty happy compared to the workers in a lot of places, I guess. Well, since we're talking about the state of Nebraska, let's talk about a state issue. The Imagine Nebraska, it's abbreviated as NE capitalized.
Wow.
But the Imagine Nebraska Act, which was passed back in 2020 to spur economic growth, we got a little report on how it is doing, courtesy of Nebraska Examiner. And looks like so far we have had 50 companies take advantage of the Imagine Nebraska Act. They have pledged to create a total of just under 2,500 new jobs and invest $1.55 billion, billion with a B. The largest project so far is Mutual of Omaha's headquarters tower. That's a $600 million project, but only about $450 million of it count towards this act. Other large projects in the state, there is a $180 million project in Kimball, Nebraska with 80 new jobs. And then a couple in Blair, Perfect Day Incorporated of Blair, $275 million and 70 jobs. And then Novozymes in Blair, $267 million and 50 jobs. So, Blair has such amazing investments going on in the biorefinery campus right along the Missouri River. Doesn't surprise me that you have a couple in Blair.
And we get people from all over the world. And was a king, not a king and a queen, but we had a prince and a princess or something.
Oh, from Denmark, yeah. When I was actually at that thing, and they had to put these like rose petals or something down for them to walk on. And
reminds me of home.
It was a big deal for people I had never heard of until that event, but it was impressive nonetheless. So a couple of observations from the air, if you will. I was coming in for a landing at Epley Thursday morning, and the plane took a different route than usual. We kind of went right over the middle of the city and then looped around and landed from the north. And a couple things stood out. One, the Google campus under construction near 114th and State Street.
Oh, wow.
From the air looks extremely impressive. They already have what looks like one massive building enclosed, a second massive building almost enclosed, and then they are just going to town, grading what looks like hundreds of additional acres to the north.
That
so
Northwest
that looks
corridor,
pretty cool.
I think it's really going to spur, it already has, but it was kind of a quiet corridor for the last 20 years, and now it's just kind of exploding.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Blair High Road, 4-lane divided highway has the potential for a lot more. And even when you get beyond the Douglas County border into southern Washington County, there's good land there that could be developable for industrial.
And if you take Blair High Road, you get off Interstate 680. I am selling a building for the Walling Company, which is a really cool company that does industrial pumps for ethanol and manufacturing and stuff. Rob Berry and his wife own the business. Mimi Quinn's the CFO. And I'm excited because I'm helping them transition. They're getting a much bigger building, not too far away, actually, and we're going to sell their existing building. But it's good to see local companies grow, and that's what the Walling Company's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to go back to something else I saw when we were coming in for a landing on Thursday morning. Great view of, and this is why I thought of it, the biorefinery campus. It was off in the distance a little bit, but when you see that biorefinery campus in Blair, right along the Missouri River from the air, you realize just how much is there. I mean, it is a major concentration of commerce and economic activity and manufacturing.
What's funny is sometimes it's hard to get businesses to come here, and as we've talked about before, but once they're here, they expand.
They're kind of like people. They always say it's hard to get people to come here, but once they do come here, recruiters will say it's hard to get people to come here, but once they're here, it's hard to recruit them away from here.
Which is great.
And we love that. We just need to get it so it's a little easier for them to come on the front end. Finally, the Salvation Army plans to expand and renovate its North Core Community Center. This is on 24th Street at Pratt on the north side. This project received city council approval earlier this week. Plans call for renovating 14,000 square feet and constructing an additional 29,000 square feet of space. Nice to see some momentum on the 24th Street corridor. We've talked a few times about North End Teleservices, a big building they're constructing a little south of that at 24th and Lake, but momentum on the 24th Street corridor to be sure. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. You can find them in person at 114th and Davenport or online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. Going to take our first break of the hour, and when we come back, we're going to bring on Jerry O'Doherty and Mark Rogers from Eide Bailey, accounting CPA firm here in Omaha. We're going to be talking about some energy tax credits that could be very beneficial for people who are building, renovating, or acquiring buildings. And some of these might come as a surprise to a lot of you. So stay with us. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals and Trenton Maggot at your service, broadcasting from the KFAB Penthouse Studio high above Underwood Avenue in downtown Dundee. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Want to bring on my friend Jerry O'Doherty, who is managing partner at a local CPA firm, or for the Omaha office, rather, of Eide Bailey. It's a national firm. And his colleague, Mark Rogers, who's calling in this morning from Chicago. And we're going to be talking about some energy tax credits that have an impact on anyone who's involved in building projects. But first of all, Jerry and Mark, good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Trenton, really do appreciate you guys allowing us to come here and speak.
And Mark, welcome from Chicago.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Jerry, before we get any further, though, why don't you put in a plug for Eide Bailey, just so people know what it is, and the fact that it was not too long ago called Syme Johnson.
Correct. Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much. So last July, a year ago July, our firm merged with Eide Bailey. So we're now a top 25 firm in the nation. We are in 15 different states, over 45 different offices. We're a full-service firm. And as Syme Johnson, we were very blessed, been in the community for 40-plus years, but we saw what was taking place in our market, and we realized our clients need more. And part of that process, we started having numerous other services that we can now offer our clients. One of them is what we're going to be talking about today with Mark Rogers and his team, to talk about all these benefits that both the for-profit and not-for-profit entities can now participate in.
It seems like on a national level, we hear more and more, Jerry, about energy efficiency, and the government wants to do this, or there's a push for that. Is this all part of what we're hearing on the news?
That's exactly it, Trenton. So with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act back at the end of 2022, it's really a misnomer. I know, shocker.
Wow.
that the government would name something, do one thing, and do something on the other end. But really what it has is some tremendous benefits for entities that never could participate before. It's always, I look at it, let's talk about the Huskers real quick, right? Next year they're moving the Big Ten. People are concerned, are they going to ever be able to participate in the big game, once they change things? Well, this case, it used to be not-for-profits never could participate in this game, and now they can. And it's a tremendous benefit that we'll talk some detail about for you and your listeners.
Okay, and so it comes out of the Inflation Reduction Act, and it basically provides energy tax credits for people who are in the building acquisition, construction, and renovation space. So let's talk a little bit about it. Jerry said both for-profit and non-profit entities, but what types of industries are benefiting the most from these energy incentives?
Yeah, Mark, I'll turn it over to you here.
Yeah, sure. So the Inflation Reduction Act, yes, it was a name that got passed so that the law can go through. It's one big energy bill. It's kind of industry agnostic. there's 24 incentives out there if you're building 4 walls and a roof. And if you're doing these things and putting in this energy property, the government is going to dole out anywhere north of $1.7 trillion of goodies. Now, I'll say this, so everyone's a winner in this space. Now, the winners plus in this space are those real estate developers that are doing one of 3 things. One, they're doing something with renewables. We're talking solar, wind, 8 others, and we can get into the weeds there. 2, decarbonization, electric vehicle charging stations, infrastructure for that, and cars. And then 3, energy efficiency. So think energy efficient HVAC or lighting or building envelope. So if you're playing in those 3 spots, there's going to be some incentives out there for you. You just have to ask. The IRS is not going to give you a heads up, hey, you forgot to take this incentive. It's incumbent on you to get to know these things, because these things are going to be around for the next 10 years, and then act on them and ask and develop this energy property.
Is this only for new ground-up construction, Mark, or is it major remodels as well?
Right. So in this Inflation Reduction Act, we'll just call it the energy bill. It's the largest energy bill in legislative history. They really widened the deal goalpost. So for those who are building new, now's your chance to get in alternate bids for these renewables and energy efficient construction property. But also for those who are renovating or adding or expanding, they could play in the game too. Really what the government's trying to do, these incentives in the built environment have been around since the 70s, 80s, and 90s. What they're trying to do here is really push the energy focus. And they are tired of waiting for some of these renewables to be initiated due to paybacks. You know, you put in solar and then you get a payback of over 10 years because you have reduced utility bills. So what they're doing here is saying, the payback's great. We're going to give you a briefcase of cash to do this in year 1 or 2 to get that upfront cost and really start to get this into the marketplace.
So if you install these energy efficient devices, lighting, all that kind of stuff, you have to prove that the project's complete, and then you apply for it and the government writes you a check for half of it, or how does it work?
Right. So 2 ways you can monetize. And both ways start with this. You get into the energy incentive program. There is no shortage of, we talked about the Inflation Reduction Act, thousands of pages of legislation and guidance. And what happens in these cases, Congress will throw up a bunch of stuff that they want, and the IRS and Treasury tries to catch up and create the forms and create the rules and regulations to play in the game. So step 1 is to get into the energy incentive program. From that point, you start to design in renewables and energy efficiency. And from there, on the for-profit side, the tax credit. So if you have taxable income and you put in $100,000 of solar, potentially you can get a $50,000 credit. I've seen it go as high as $150,000. And yes, there's cases where you can get a higher credit than the amount of energy property you put in. And then that just goes onto your tax return and reduces your taxable income. It's a dollar for dollar credit. It's a wonderful thing. Where things are getting interesting is in the non-for-profit space. I've been doing this for 20 years, and never have non-for-profits been invited to even play the game because they don't pay tax, and so they don't need these incentives. That all changed with 2 words, direct pay. Direct pay is the mechanism where nonprofits or exempt organizations can now monetize this credit. So they go through the hoops, they file the forms, they register, they get into the program. At the end of the day, they apply for a credit, rabbit ears, and in turn, they get a direct pay check from the Department of Treasury. I call it a briefcase of cash. And that's how they get incentivized. They can think of that in the exempt org space, developing property there. Think of it like a rebate. And yeah, again, for 20 years, I've talked with only for-profit entities trying to reduce their taxable income in the built environment. Now, 90% of my conversations are with hospitals and religious organizations and education and even a presidential library. So things are starting to get really exciting for certain industries that, quite frankly, weren't invited to play in this game before.
Yeah, just a couple minutes left with Mark Rogers and Jerry O'Doherty from Eide Johnson talk about energy tax credits. And Mark, what about making sure your engineer or architect are up to date on this stuff? If you're doing a building project, there's no guarantee they know about that, right?
That is a really good point. I'd say since August of 22, when the Inflation Reduction Act came out, I've been on the road once or twice a month giving presentations, and the biggest challenge is getting everyone in the same room at the same time. You need your accounting, engineering, incentive consultant. You need you as a building owner, whether that's exempt or for profit, but you also need to get your designer involved, your facility engineer, your architect, to plan for these things. We have 10 years. Congress has given us a 10-year window, 2023 to 2032, to cash in on these. So this is the year where we start laying the foundation in our capital expenditure requests, our capital projects, and let it known that these one-time investment tax credits, briefcases of cash, are out there. I've been in many conversations where the architect says, solar doesn't make sense because the payback's 10 years and the upfront cost is another $1 million. Well, if we all get on the phone together and model out, we might find, hey, we might get you a $1.5 million credit for that solar, or geothermal, or electrochromic glass, fuel cells. There's 10 of them that every architect, engineer, and building owner should watch out for as buzzwords and start to consider these things, because where they might not have penciled out before, it might make financial sense to move forward with these renewables.
Well, folks, if you want to check into this, if you are contemplating or involved in a building project, reach out to Eide Bailly. It's spelled E-I-D-E, and Bailey is spelled not the way it sounds. It's B-A-I-L-L-Y, eidebailly.com. But Jerry O'Doherty and Mark Rogers, we appreciate you joining us and opening up our eyes to something that could be of benefit to a lot of Gromaha listeners.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I'll give my phone number as well, Jerry O'Doherty. And my phone number is 402-691-5555.
That's his home number.
And like we said earlier, Jerry is the managing partner for Eide Bailly here in Omaha. Mark Rogers, thanks. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Jeff.
All right, we're going to take our middle of the show break, I should say, for the news. And then after that, we're going to come back and talk about construction on the Dodge Street corridor. You're listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding on News Radio 1110 KFAB. All right, Grow Omaha's back on the air. Jeff Beals sitting next to a very interesting Trenton Magid. The show is brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. A little bit about both of those companies. First of all, Dingman's has 4 metro area locations, and that way, no matter where you are in town, there's a Dingman's not terribly far from you, and they all do a great job. Trent and I have both been customers on more than one occasion. with Dingman's and have always had outstanding results. Customer service is great in addition to the outstanding work that they do on your vehicle. And then D&M Roofing and Siding, they've been with us for a number of years. We've gotten to know Eric Obrempt and his team at D&M so well, and used them as well personally, and nothing but the best. Outstanding product that they deliver when the roof is done, and the service is second to none, and they'll do both residential and commercial roofs. All right, well, let's get into our commercial real estate development spotlight of the week. Everyone is always curious to know what we're going to announce during this period, and we've got three things to say. This spotlight is brought to you by Noddle Companies. You've probably heard of Noddle Companies because they're one of the premier real estate developers based here in Omaha, and they do work outside of Omaha too, but here in Omaha, they're famous for headquarters. I mean, they've done the Valmont headquarters, the HDR headquarters, the Kiewit headquarters downtown in the Builders District. And then
They do a lot of campuses.
that's a good point. Because
First National Campus, the Commercial Federal, which was then the
which would, it's now BMO.
Bank of the West, and now it's Bank
Bank of the West, and originally the Commercial Federal
Yeah.
Business Park. Yeah, they did all three of those.
Yeah.
And Builders District downtown, River's Edge, and Council Bluffs. And today we talk about what we generally consider probably to be their highest profile Omaha project that is still being developed, and that's Exarban Village. Yeah, Exarban Village is
Sam
still
Noddle
being
gave me a
developed.
tour of the whole thing yesterday. It was pretty
Oh, right.
impressive.
Tell me about it.
Well, I'm excited to go to Rub. We went through it. We haven't eaten there yet. I think I'm going to eat there tonight. So
Rub has been getting rave reviews.
absolutely. The same guy that has Au Courant. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting. And the new clothing store.
Oh, a priori?
Yeah, very good.
Is it called A plus priori or just a priori?
I think it's a priori.
Okay.
But you can call them and ask.
I don't know. If they, maybe I'll just show up.
They've got a couple interesting restaurant opportunities that there's one that's like 5,000 square feet. So talk to me or Sam Noddle and see what's going on at Exarban Village.
And speaking of food and Exarban Village, Pops, P-O-P-S, Pops at the Interrail has released an updated menu. Interrail, of course, is the food hall right in the center of the village. It's a pizza place with appetizers. And then also at Interrail Food Hall, Sweet Treats, which is a mini donut business, held their grand opening this week, 15 different flavors. So if you like mini donuts, and who doesn't, go to the Interrail at Exarban Village. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, brought to you by Noddle Companies. Well, Trenton, in this week's Grow Omaha newsletter that comes out every Thursday afternoon, our big story highlighted a lot of construction going on along the Dodge Street corridor. Of course, there's always construction, it seems, along the Dodge Street corridor, but there's quite a bit right now. And not going to go through everything in there, but a couple things that might jump out. The City of Omaha's future flagship library, which really, according to the renderings, looks like it'll be an architectural masterpiece. This is
Can't wait.
$150 million project. A tower crane is fully assembled now, and that thing sticks out way over Dodge Street. So if you are a budding construction nerd and you want to drive by and see that, it's pretty cool looking.
Because I think the highest point will probably be the 50-foot warehouse portion where they're going to use, they have all their archives and that kind of stuff and their periodicals and books. And supposedly it's like, I think of it as like Amazon warehouse technology where within 2 minutes you can get anything pulled.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun just to go and visit the place. And sometimes people will say, "Why are they building a library? Because no one reads printed books anymore." That's patently false. People read tons of printed books, including very young people. But a library is as much of a community center anymore as it is a place to check out books. I mean, you think about they're going to have all of that technology access that the Do Space had. That's going to be in there too. So it's going to be kind of like a community center where, you just kind of do your own part here in Omaha to advance humanity. I mean, it's a place where you'll go and spend time, hang out, and benefit from it.
I wonder if they're going to replace the the Judy Blume book that you checked out in 7th grade and never returned?
I think you're making that story up, but my sister had all of the Judy Blume books, and I may have read a couple of them.
Well, I had to share a bathroom with my 2-year older sister, and that's where I got to read Cosmo.
And on that note, the last little construction hotspot along Dodge that we want to highlight, and there are more than just this, right around the Med Center area, the tower crane recently came down for the 6-story Hampton Inn at 44th and Douglas, so it's nearing completion. Still got a ways to go. Serious hardcore construction going on right now at the Child Saving Institute. There is a pile of dirt there that is like taller than the existing Child Saving Institute building, but that eventually will be $46 million expansion coming along great. Dirt work is already underway for the 6-story core building, which will be administrative and research for the Med Center. And then finally in that area, the 329-unit 5-story apartment building that'll take a block and a half at 48th and Dodge. Serious groundwork going on there right now.
Construction going on all over.
All right, we're going to take our final break of the hour, and when we come back, it'll be your Turner Construction Lightning Round. I'm looking at the list, and there's a lot of things on there that you are going to want to talk about at your cocktail and dinner parties tonight. So stay with us. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Trenton Magadon Grow Omaha. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your Turner Construction Lightning Round, appropriately brought to you by Turner Construction. By the way, Sarpy County Chamber of Commerce last week awarded its Company of the Year. Trenton, guess who it was?
Turner Construction.
Yeah, it's a pretty safe guess given that this is the Turner Construction Lightning Round, but you are correct, sir. And they deserve it. They've been operating in Sarpy County for since 2017. But guess what? They do a lot of business here in Douglas County as well and other parts of Nebraska. In fact, the office is called Turner Construction Nebraska. They have Nebraska people working here that have been in the construction industry for a long time. They do outstanding work, and they're outstanding people. Every time I sit down and talk with someone for Turner, I always just enjoy the conversation, and frankly, I learned something too. So thanks to Turner Construction for being the sponsor of the Lightning Round. Whew, look at all this stuff we've got in here. First of all, we have a restaurant appears to be coming to the old Stoysich House of Sausage near 132nd and Center.
No way.
And it's called Hot Pot 88. Hot Pot 88. We're going to find some more details about that this week.
Is that going somewhere else too? Is this their second location?
That I don't know.
We reported on that.
That I don't know. Hey, a couple of restaurants. Okay, last week we told you that Helados Locos is a new dessert destination in Lakeside Hills along West Center Road, coming from the owner of Javi's Tacos, Javier Trujillo. But guess what? Javi has 2 more concepts coming. These are in the same building as the Javi's Tacos that is on 204th Street in downtown Elkhorn area. The first one is going to be in the former Sunnyside Elkhorn space, and it's going to be called Time to Rise and Shine. It'll be a breakfast and brunch restaurant. Really cool. Javi gave me a tour of the space. It's going to be really awesome in there. And then right next door to that, in the old Site One tap room space, Javi and his team are going to be opening Frosty Muggs Sports Bar. Frosty Muggs Sports Bar, 17 TVs, build your own burger and pizza options, games for the kids, very family friendly. So new concepts, 3 new concepts coming from the owner of Javi's Tacos, and 2 of them will be in that same retail strip as the Elkhorn Javi's location. And then Trenton downtown, Roxy Omaha opened. This is the retro cocktail bar out of Iowa City, Iowa. And it's in the Capital District just west of Texas de Brazil. And the next month, a similar or a sister company, same ownership, the Stuffed Olive, will open in that space.
It's amazing how many restaurant and bar options, breakfast places, lunch places, dinner places. And we've been talking about for a couple of years how people are short on staff and service and all that kind of stuff. And restaurateurs just can't get enough.
Yeah, well, we love them and we love going to them. And I think you and I are culprits and do our part to support the restaurant community here.
Shows the economy is good, too. People are going out spending money.
Got 3 new tenants coming to Metro Crossing Shopping Center in Council Bluffs, right there at the I-29 Interstate 80 interchange. They are Jersey Mike's Subs, Hot Works, and Noodles and Company. So if you eat too much Noodles and Company or Jersey Mike's, you can go over to Hot Works and work it off. Exterior walls are being erected for Omaha's 3rd Costco wholesale store, southeast corner of 180th and Maple.
Wow, they moved a lot of dirt on that side. They had to flatten it out.
My question is, which will come first? The Costco opens or the Fleet Farm to the west is started?
Yeah, Fleet Farm has owned that land, I think, for a couple of years. And they've got another site at 192nd and Highway 370.
And we're waiting for a little bit of activity
Bring
there.
it on, Fleet. We've been talking about you for 6 years.
We'll see. And that whole West Maple corridor from right there at 180th West. Lot of activity going in that area because, like we said, walls going up on the Costco. We assume that Fleet Farm's still coming, but right there in that area, got Burger Detour, Chipotle, and Starbucks, all just opening brand new buildings right in that corridor. Also very close to that on the other side of the street, St. Patrick's Catholic Church out of
That's a
Elkhorn.
big site.
It is a big site. Lastly, music's playing. Garage, a teen and young women's clothing store at Westroads, opened last weekend. And so there you have it. That's your news of the week, your Turner Construction Lightning Round. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Maggot.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, D&M Roofing and Siding, and of course, Turner Construction. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.